Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and this is part 2. Part 1, Kevin says, why would you ruin a perfectly nice model like that? Horrible looking. What a waste. Kevin, you might want to turn away. This is part 2. So in part 1, I pretty much took a Jada Toys 124 scale GTX that I have 2 of, took it apart, and decided to go with a more post-apocalyptic look. And I took bits and pieces from some Warhammer stuff, a tank from Tamiya, a bunch of different parts, put it all together, and I got it to the point where I was semi-happy with it, and I decided to get it all one color, and I primed it up, and this is what I left with at part 1, or the last time you saw it anyways. So I like things primed because I get to see everything all together, and it kind of brings things into a cohesive appearance. So I take these rust effects from Vallejo, and I have multiple colors, but I end up spraying two or three, just to get some different toning. And there's going to be a lot of different techniques here. I'm using this as a sampler just to try different things. So I'm going with a little bit of salt. So you'll apply some water on top of the rust effects. Then I just take some table salt, nothing fancy. It's a fine salt, nothing out of the ordinary, stuff you can pick up at the local grocery store. And I'm going to spray different colors on top of this, and then when it dries, I'll be able to brush it off, and it should show the rust effects below. I'm going with 2 colors, petty blue and butternut yellow. I know, sounds crazy, but it is crazy. So I decided to go, I kind of mix and matched, and then I did the hood black. So I sprayed right over the salt, right over the rust, and if everything goes according to plan, which, big secret, it does this time, it works out really well, and you can see the rust underneath. I'm using a couple different brushes. They're fairly stiff, mainly because I left them out and forgot to wipe them off. So they're you can use different things. People use toothpicks. I happen to have a couple brushes that are pretty stiff, so it works out really, really well to get all the salt off, which, as you can see, does reveal the rust underneath. And that's why when I painted the Vallejo, I did it in stages. I painted dark, then I painted some blotches of orangey rust, and then some light rust, almost like a yellow. And because I'm not sure when I'm doing it, I'm not 100% sure where I was going to put some of the salt, so wherever I put it, I wanted to have multiple shades that would reveal themselves once wiped off. So this was really enjoyable to work on. I say enjoyable. It was a nightmare to work on something this big when you're used to working on the 1/64 scale, because there's so many things you can do to this, and sometimes you just don't know when to stop. So that was probably my biggest challenge. So here it is after all the salt was chipped away or wiped away. So now it's all painting. I'm going to say this multiple times, some lead belcher from Citadel, which is a silver aluminum color, and I'm dry brushing a lot of different places where I'd want some metallics to show through. This whole project is done with multiple layers, and I'm going to be doing the same things multiple times. So phase 1, I did the lead belcher mainly to highlight certain things so that I could see what I was doing. Then I'm taking some, I think that's Retributor armor, I'm pretty sure. In doing that Screaming Skull, there's a little skull thing I put on the front. So these different colors, the blues and the Screaming Skull and the Retributor armor, these are all, and I believe I do red. This is just to bring out some highlights, and it does look very bright right now, even though I'm using a muted paint, but that's all going to get, I guess you could say, dulled down as this project continues, because even if you look at the blue and the yellow body paint, it's It's got a little bit of a shine to it, even though it's a base coat clear coat system and I'm not clear coating it. So I'm also taking some of my weathering powders and I'm doing some streaking. And what that's going to do is it's given the effect of where my rust was. I'm kind of brushing down with the different shades just to give it, rust. If you look at rust, most of the time you got a heavy spot, and then it's, if you leave it out long enough, or if you're from New England, you'll know, you see where the rust actually just starts to drip down the surface of the paint, and it's slowly going to start working its way and bubbling that up as well. I also take some of the Vallejo rust and mix it with some distilled water, and I'm just brushing it on really, really heavy in multiple phases underneath on a lot of different areas where I want some various toning and rust effects. It's very subtle because you wipe it off after, or at least wipe off all the excess. But it's just another layer. I probably have like 12 layers on this. I mean, I just kept going and going and going. Probably could have done it in 3 layers, but just learning different things and trying different things. That's what, a lot of people bust my balls because I do post-apocalyptic stuff. That's where I learn most of my techniques, and it's great because it's no pressure. If I screw it up, it looks even better. Where else in my life can I do that? So I enjoy the process of learning different things. So here I'm applying a couple decals that came with the 40K Warhammer tank, just to add, it's all about the little details. Everything that's subtle, when the whole thing is done, it does kind of pulls everything together, and you're not looking at like one thing, you're looking at everything. I'm not sure if that makes sense. I'm not a teacher, so I don't know how to explain everything perfectly, but I just like to have various things kicking around just to add detail and pull your eye, so you're looking at everything, not just one thing. So the rear spoiler, painting almost like a caution stripe with the yellow, just masking it off, not being fancy or anything like that. Because again, this is supposedly a post-apocalyptic world, so there's a lot of flexibility. I'm drilling out one of the headlights like it was broken, and then I'll glue that back together. The other thing I liked about this scale was just the flexibility to be able to really, it was a curse at the same time because there's so many things that you have to touch that stand out because they're bigger than a Hot Wheels or Matchbox car. So putting a little grill mesh on the front grill, and then any place I did a decal, I'm just taking some black wash and I'm just kind of dulling it down a little bit, just so that it looks a little oily and streaky and worn and old. Okay, the turret that goes on the top, I'm just doing some various details. This was probably the newer aspect of the vehicle as it was being built in my imaginary land of post-apocalypse. So just hitting it with some various colors, just enough to make it stand out, some blacks and blues, grays. I actually had a gray in there. And these are all Citadel colors. I don't remember the names of all of them. They get some crazy ass names. And my, what do you call it? The Typhus Corrosion. I use this. This is like my third rust. The Typhus Corrosion, which is a texture paint, and then I hit it with the Rise of Rust with a dry brush. So that would be the original Vallejo rust. Then I use the weathering powders. Then I'm using this as well. So there's like 3 different layers of rust effects, and each one has a different texture. So it kind of works out, I think, in the end, when you look at it all. I think it all pulls it all together. So it was more of a happy accident because I was experimenting. So the Rise of Rust, when you put it on top of that type, I know I've said it 100 times if you watch my videos, but this stuff is, as they say in New England, it's wicked tits. It works out really, really well. There's nothing I can say about it that I don't like. It just really pulls these things together when you're done. And you'll see in the glamour shots at the end how cool it is, or at least in my opinion. So the dash in the seats in the interior, I didn't spend a lot of time because I would have been another 2 weeks doing this. put some masking tape on after I kind of put some paint down, just so that I'd have something underneath in case I went through. What I'm doing is I'm still going to paint this black, but the masking tape actually is going to be what I'm going to scribe off a little bit, so almost like it was torn, like a torn seat effect. So I do a little bit on the dash, a little bit on the back seat. So you can see right there, after it's been painted, it's, you get that foam underneath like a pleather seat. That's kind of the effect I'm going after, like it's been worn, getting in and out of the car 100 times. And I get this, I'm an electrician, so I get some fire wire or fire alarm wire, and I think it's 18 solid wire. So if you're looking for anything like that, it's just 18-2 solid wire, and I'm using that. That's what I put those little things on the back of the turret for. These are all the parts and pieces. I actually do a little bit more detail on the interior, but not much. This is everything, and it looks, when I look at it now, it doesn't look like much, but it was a lot. This is a huge project, but I'm glad I did it. I've been wanting to do it for a while. So, like I said, every aspect of this thing's pretty much been touched. I mean, there's nothing on this that I did not modify or weather, as you can see. Hey, every week now I'm doing something called the Wicked Pissaja, and I'm adding something to it. So when I get, right now I'm around 12,000 subscribers. When I hit 14, I'm giving the contents away. First thing I put was this. The second thing I put was that. This week, I am throwing in that. And like I said, when I hit 14,000 subscribers, I'm giving it away to one person. If you guys are interested, please check out my Patreon account. I've got a lot of people in there, and we do a lot of different things. I'm real happy with the way it's progressing. Make sure you check it out. This is what I started with. This is what I ended with. It's pretty big for the little turntable I have, but it's struggling, but it's working. So once again, if I know this isn't everybody's cup of tea, but if you learned anything, you like it, comment down below anything I could have done different. I know that I probably could have kept adding and adding, but I'd love to hear your input. Hopefully it inspires you just a little bit, or you hate me even more. Either way, I appreciate it. Make sure you comment down below, like, share, whatever. I will catch you on the next one.